Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. We're so powerful that it's unbelievable. I found that out. And I'm hoping that everyone has an opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. So, during my testing, there were a few things that I was just so excited to talk about what was happening. A few of the details I skipped on purpose for the sake of time because I knew it would take me just much longer to talk about what happened, but just know that we're so powerful. And now, see, once our nation gets beyond a certain point, the occupation, you're going to see it go further and further and further away. Okay, slowly, and it's not really slowly, it's quickly actually. But that occupation will go away as we fill the void, you know, that was there when we were asleep. You may have heard that the entire Federal Reserve system crashed on Wednesday. And it crashed for over 3 hours, which to me is long enough to remove the corporate covering and have it do what we needed to, because that needed to be done, but it wasn't going to be done until we got beyond a certain point. And this is as a nation. As a nation, we've gotten beyond a certain point together. We just have to keep doing what we're doing, keep doing what we're doing. The system will do exactly what we tell it to do. And all we have to do is stay together. Okay? The Moors, we lead ourselves, you know, no one leads the Moors. We lead ourselves. And so we lead ourselves together. On February 27th of this week, at approximately 3:21 a.m., we will be honoring the full moon, which is the snow moon in Virgo, as it brings clarity and balance. And as we know, we use the stars as a tool. I see Islam. I am logged on a few times. They're all me. We use the stars as a guide for us, so that we know how to do whatever it is that we want to do in our, you know, as we travel on our vast estate. So, clarity and balance, clarity and balance. A lot of us have been all work, and and very little relaxation and ease, because we saw the urgency. Most of you have worked tirelessly on more things and setting ourselves free. And so that is going to be something that we come into at this time. I saw what the fake put in the chat. See, and I'm just gonna. I don't know. I usually ignore what the foreign hybrids say. I usually ignore it, but I have to point this out. He wants people to believe that I'm out on bail, but I was not. The system is not made for us. That's what they want. They want you to believe that. But anyone who knows me knows I've never done that. Never done that. And even the fake policy enforcers in them know that. He wants people to believe that, but it's not true. And it's actually funny that if he says it, you know it's not true. I just thought I would point that out because I just think they're kind of funny, But that's just me. I apologize for digressing. Let me finish with what we're doing. So the power of this full moon is about getting ego out of the way so that our ancestral energies can do their part. We are to continue building here, and all of the power of the universe is already coming to our aid. See, as a nation, people are accustomed to us getting outside aid from other places, namely the foreign hybrids. We got aid from foreign hybrids, and we didn't really need it, but we were minors. We didn't know we didn't need them, and they eat off of that. Off of the fact that the heirs, quote unquote, need aid. They need aid. We need their aid for this and their aid for that. Any aid that we get on our land, we're the heirs to it anyway. So it's not really aid coming from them. It's aid that's already ours. Period. They never had anything to give us. And this full moon that's coming up is going to bring all of that clear to us. It's going to make it much clearer. And all we have to do is keep studying and keep demonstrating and keep doing what we do. And it will be clear. So we do not need any aid from foreign hybrid occupiers or from anything that is foreign to our anointed sovereign living nation. And this is something that that has been made clear as well. We are not to be afraid of success. It is here for us. We are not to be afraid of it. We're not to be afraid of walking in our godness. In fact, we are to embrace that. Embrace it. It is what we are supposed to do. Do not be afraid to govern. Do not be afraid to do sovereign court actions right out in the territories. That needs to be done. We must do that. It needs to be done. No, and this is another thing, Yes, they did. I took, they're rooted out here. They're bothered by what happened last week, by how we were able to go through that entire test without yielding jurisdiction, not even once. And so they're, you know, using everything and anyone who will allow them. But we speak, in fact, we don't speak to them at all, because that would be speaking life into them. We are to know that ye are God. Know that, all Moors. Know, this is being made clear for a reason. Know that each sovereign Moor, ye are God. Know it. We're going to need to know that where we're going. We're going to need to know that, because to whom much is given, much is required. This is not, you know, we're not being tested for nothing. We're being tested for a reason. And to whom much is given, much is required. Just as the full moon has a gravitational pull on the waters, because we're 80% water. And this is beautiful. We too will be brought higher on the inside in our sovereign studies, our ever-increasing unity, and in sovereign higher competence, among many, many, many other benefits of being here. As the light of the full moon shines, and we bask in it, and we can do that whether we're indoors or outdoors, we are given the clarity to heal ourselves very deeply in the deepest places where we've been affected by colonization. We can heal ourselves in those areas if we all come together in the mind, which we're there already, and honor this full moon that's coming up. And it's going to bring us into a new level of healing on the inside, so that a lot of the anger that has to do with colonization goes away, because that does not serve us anymore. We're doing away with any anger, okay, that does not serve us. Any emotion, any energy that does not serve us well, we have to get rid of it, because where we're going, we can't take it with us. And we don't want it to hold us down. And the healing is being given so that we can continue to save ourselves. We've done an amazing job as a nation saving ourselves in the face of all types of threats, what we thought was threat, duress, and coercion. But as you can see, we all came out of it breathing, living. Some egos are hurt by some of the stuff, but we needed to get rid of those anyway. The ancestors knew that. So those didn't really need to be there anyway. And I'll tell you this, the more that I see, and this is just from observation and also from looking within, because when I'm looking out there, I'm looking within at the same time. If there's any ego in there that is not right sized or done away with, the ancestors just test it out of us. And it can be done away with by them testing it out of us, or us deciding that we're going to clear the energy. Any energies that we clear, that means we don't need to be tested in that area, because we cleared it ourselves. And that's why sometimes when I'm going throughout my day and I sense some energy, and this is where I might read something put by someone, or someone might say something in a meeting that hurts my feelings or something, and that has happened I can count on my 2 feet. And the only reason my feelings got hurt was because there was some ego in me. I did not see that they were hurt. That's why they said what they said. It wasn't about me. I needed to see that. And when I saw that and cleared that energy, my hurt went away and I was able to talk to them in a way that was loving, or the ancestors said, just leave it alone and let it happen. And after a while, it worked itself out to where there was peace. So each full moon is to take us higher and higher and higher. I know that we have taken the full moon for granted, but there's a reason why activity goes higher. When we were asleep, the policy enforcers used to say on full moons, they had actual statistics that proved that more people got, quote unquote, arrested on the weekend of a full moon than at any other time of the month. That's because the energies are so active. And the energies that it takes for us to rise to the next level are already there. They've been there. That energy's been there waiting on us to wake up. Now that we're awake, that's what all of that energy is about. It comes in, and it's like wind beneath our wings, so to speak. All we have to do is stretch our wings and fly, and that energy will take us higher and higher and higher together. But we have to just continue tapping in. Just continue tapping in to that energy. Make sure that everything that we do, and I'm speaking to me first, make sure that everything we do is about making sure that we've saved ourselves, but that we're looking outward and not making it all about us. It can't be about any one of us. It has to be about all of us. All of us. And it is. It is so that it is about all of us. Yes, I'm kind of looking in the chat at some of the things that are going on. Yes. I'll say just a little bit more about the full moon that's coming up, because we know the full moons, they shine for the heirs. They were put there for the heirs to acknowledge and then to rise in them, in the energy that comes with them. Okay? And it is by our activities that we rise like that. So with our increased healing also comes increased energy. And that's what I'm talking about with the moon and all of the activity. Increased energy and the need for less than usual sleep. You may not want to sleep more, at the normal hours. You may sleep less. All are encouraged to sit in the moonlight, either indoors or outside, whichever is most convenient for you, and meditate with gratitude. Let all of your meditations start with gratitude. If there's any energy that no longer serves you, write it down and burn it in a fireplace or other safe place to set it free. All of this we do first to continue to save ourselves, which automatically results in the continued saving of our powerful sovereign nation. This is part and parcel of all that we are doing in unity as one. Are there any, I'd love to just start with questions, if that's okay with the heirs. If anyone has any questions about anything that we talked about, any processes, any energies, anything, you can, I'm going to mute everyone, and then you can do star six. Give me just a moment to make that adjustment. And then you can unmute yourself and ask if you have any questions about the processes or or anything that we have going on in our nation, where we're going, etc. Any of your demonstrations as well. Any of them. And if not, we'll continue. Islam.
Good. Yeah.
I thought you said you weren't going back to jail, Pauline. You said a bunch of videos that you were never going back to jail again. What happened? What happened, Pauline? You said you were never going back
Let me meet myself. Let's try to get it together.
You were never going back to jail. What happened?
Okay.
Did everybody look at Malo's
Facebook? There it is,
Facebook
right there. There it is, right there.
Did everybody look at Malo's Facebook post that I...
Got it. Don't look at it, you all. Don't look at it. If he says do it, don't do it. Okay. And we're not talking to him because we know he's speaking from the land of the dead. And now, let's see. Okay, go ahead, Nobility. I apologize for the interruption. The subjects are very, very restless at this time. And so, you know, please forgive them. Yes, please forgive them. Go ahead, Nobility. There was one who had a question.
Islam, Empress Light. Gentlemen, one of the brothers, he pointing there, he can't hear you.
Okay. Can everyone hear?
Islam.
Islam, can hear you loud.
Okay.
Islam, I can hear.
Okay, I can hear you. Okay. So he may have something going on with his system because everyone else can hear. So he may want to sign out and then sign back in, and I'll unlock the meeting for him. If he, you know, if he wants to do that.
Islam.
Just like they see IA operatives. Don't worry about it. They playing with you. I know that.
Oh, they're not playing with me because, you know, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. They're a little bit, you know, and here's the thing. I send them all. We're not gonna put much time on them. But I'll tell you this. I'm sending them much peace and much love. Much peace and much love. We're unstoppable.
Islam.
I think they know that.
Let me get one thing out. I'll get this out there. We got to look at
just quickly, Justice Frank, because we don't want to give them our energy.
This is not us. It's called consular notification SS. They are already trained about who we really, really are. So don't pay them no mind. They are CRA operatives. I mean, remember now, I got 9 years before Tartary Blade woke up. So, all right. Islam. All right.
Islam.
Yes, Islam.
On the demonstration that you did and all the paperwork that you submitted reference to that demonstration, and then put on the public record, lawful and legal, that made that demonstration a lawful effort. So how or what does justice require? Not anger. Reference detention of a sovereign judge and breach of the peace.
Well, here's the thing about that. Now, remember, when they approached, had I done a court action on them at approach, they couldn't have taken me. I know that. That I know for sure. So then what does that leave? That leaves me going in by my own authority and by the will of the ancestors so that they could show me how powerful we are. I can tell you this, I don't feel violated at all. I know that sounds a little bit, you know, I'm a Leo, and so, you know, we are mission driven. And whatever it takes to get the mission done, we will do it. And that means going behind the lines there which to me is not behind the lines because we own that too. And see, we needed to know how to book them in and bring them out. We needed to know that. And now we know how to do it. That's what that was all about. And also to know how powerful our courts are and to know that they already know about our courts. They're the ones who said while I was in there that, oh, it's a fake-ass treaty that the Americans signed saying that we can go to their Moroccan court. You knew that? So and see, the only reason he said that was because he saw his superiors unable to come in when I did a court action. And he was wondering, how come y'all don't just open the door and go in there like you usually do? That's the only reason he confessed.
Islam,
see that.
Islam, the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, I'm underlining the justice part. I'll yield. Islam, thank you.
Yes. I don't see it as a violation. I see it as a test. Now, as far as breach of the peace is concerned, I could look at it that way. But the ancestors have not given me that perspective. I don't see it from that perspective. And the reason I don't see it from that perspective is because of what was accomplished.
Islam.
You know, I see where that perspective is gained. I honor that perspective. I honor that. But I'll tell you this, nobility, when we know what to do, and it's like a little chihuahua nipping at your ankle. And for some people that would terrify them. And for others, they would just say, you know what, let me pet this chihuahua so that he calms down. And when you pet him, he calms down. And then he starts following you around. It's that kind of thing. We can look at it as something terrifying and something, you know. See, we've been trained, and this is, I really want to make this clear. We have been trained and programmed to think the worst about that system. That's by design. That's so we would be afraid to find out how to use it. There's a reason why nothing in that system is in red in all lowercase letters. There's a reason. There's a reason why all the ink is black and all of it's in capital letters. There's a reason for that. There's a reason.
Islam, Empress, honor and respect. How are you?
Yes, yes. And I thank you so much for that, Justice, because I see that perspective. It is just not one that the ancestors have given me as a perspective for that test. Where breach of the peace is concerned, we can call it that at any given time because there's no statute of limitations on fraud. So at any time, if we want to go back and do a court action and give ourselves a ruling, we can. Speaking of which,
Islam.
Moors, know that all that we've been through, hopefully, I really hope that you all kind of kept records or are able to pull records of where, you know, they, quote unquote, arrested a fake and took you in the place of the fake. Because we're gonna have remedy there. We already have remedy there. And we're gonna walk through that process. I'm gonna do the process first. And then show you the results of that process too. So that we can see how we, just like you were saying, Justice, you know, if the sovereign says it's breach of the peace, then that's what it is. Breach of the peace is a contract term. We had a contract with the subject. We didn't have a contract with the court. That's why we terminated all presumed corporate contracts. And now all of those that were acting in a corporate capacity, they already know they were acting unlawfully. They were supposed to be subjects the whole time. So that's why, that's another reason why I have all of the documents from that testing that I'm going to publish. I'm going to scan them in, and I may even put them under this video, the scan of all the documents related to that, because our law enforcement, which is all of us, needs to know which documents to print out and all of that. And of course, none of them have my sovereign autograph on them. I didn't sign anything. But they didn't even say, I ain't this or sign that, because they knew who they had, you know. But they also know that I know what to look for in going in. And most Moors, you know, we know to calm down so we can look around and see what the ancestors are trying to show us in those tests. You know, I'm not the only one that knows how to do that. A lot of Moors know how to do that. Very powerful Moors know how to do that. Go into a test, and some of them you don't even hear from, but they're busy going through their tests and acing and rising higher and higher and higher, and they just sit on, you know, they're quietly sitting there, you know, going through their testing, watching what's being done, and, you know, rising right along with it, you know. And then every now and then we'll get a call from one of them, and they'll say, you know, we've been watching, and, you know, we're so glad to see the heirs doing it.
Islam.
Yeah. I feel you, Justice. You know, that's not a perspective as far as reaching the peace yet that they have given me. Usually when the ancestors give me a perspective, they give me not only the perspective but the remedy for that perspective. And sometimes the remedy is go behind those lines so you can find out how to do that system, because y'all need to know how to do it. And the only way we can, you know, it's not like we're going to walk, you know, it's not like in the past we would walk up to them and say, hey, can you show us how to use the computers here? You know, we really don't need them to show us, because how difficult can it be if they're doing it? All we needed was the documents to see what was printed out. We'll figure it out. We're the ones who came up with it in the first place.
Islam. Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, honest, Amari Bay from D.C. Territory. Another example, you guys, just to put it out there, as it says in our treaty, whenever we have a matter, we ask for the commander. And the commander has the authority to stop all interviews and all matters, and to return and set everything at our liberty, which they did. That's what they did. It was a challenge. It was a test, and they released.
Well, they were taken out of any status that says they're a commander or anything like that, and put in subject status. You see, that is actually the key. Is they're not the commander. We are. You know.
Well, but right, exactly. But as the protocol,
I didn't ask for anyone, because I don't need anything from them. I need them in subject status, and then I will tell them what to do. Right,
and that's what they did. They eventually released. Now another process is another process, as it says in our treaty. We are the authority. So you can go to that commander and ask for those officers, and they are to assist you. And then we can, declaration of rights under color of law, and they can assist you, and you are the heir. So that's just another.
Okay. Let me clarify just a few things with that, and split some hairs, just so that, because see, if you do it that way and they're in dead status, they're just going to violate.
Well, it's just the procedure of the treaty. That's all. It's just the procedure of the treaty. Everything.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm
camelbacking on what you're saying. Yeah, you can't tell them more what to do. You could do, how would you like, but that's the protocol, and they know when you know.
So one thing we We don't, and I agree with you. I just want to make sure that the clarity is there so that that we say that we don't contract with them. Because see, there's a thin line
never
between contracting with
right.
them. If
right.
we and this is just my this is my personal experience with them this time around firsthand. And I'm not saying that you don't have that, because obviously you do. You're very competent. What I'm saying is I would never call them a commander. Never. Never call them a commander ever, because we are all titles and offices. We're all of that.
Right, but there's still a contract in place that they are supposed to abide by, and we're supposed to abide by, and the rules are set. And the commander is just their watch commander, or who is the head person running the precinct that day. So once you ask for him, he's going to be like, oh, now I'm going to be responsible. I just put my kids in school. I done all these things. I don't want any repercussions coming to me. I'm going to clear those underlings. But if he's not asked for, then like the underlings, the pit bulls can run wild. So it's just kind of like an accountability thing where, like, we always ask for supervisors, heads, because the person at the front desk, they're like just the pit bulls who really don't know. But once you ask for accountability, then they're like, okay, these guys are competent ones. They know. We're going to leave these alone. Just as an example.
And we've always said this.
You Negroes are so fucking full of shit. Nolo doesn't even believe you guys. You're going back to.
This is the difference between what you and I are saying. We're saying the same thing, but in a slightly different way, okay? Saying the same thing, but in a slightly different way. What I'm saying is that, because I heard what you're saying. You're saying ask for the commander and that they will do what you ask them to do.
Have to. You're right.
And I'm saying we never ask. No.
Well,
never.
Demand, right? Demand required, right?
Please let me finish. We never ask them for anything. We don't need them for anything. We are the commander. So what I did this past time that stopped them and all of the goons that came with them was straight off the bat a court action, because did you know, Moors, did you know that when we ask them for something, that's a court action? It's a motion, it's a pleading, it's a prayer, it's a plea. And we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. Why would we ask them for anything? And on top of that, we're the commander. So they're not supposed to be acting in a commander status around the commander. That's usurpation. They're not supposed to be acting as the boss when the boss is there. The Moors are the boss. And that's why on first sight, we do the court action right there on the spot, so that, because this is the key about who's the commander. In any proper court action, identities must be established. What do we look like calling them a commander when we're the sovereign? That's not proper identification. And if we don't identify them properly, guess what? They're going to act like they're our commander. And we just don't do that.
Well, that's just in our treaty.
Well, the treaty does not say call them a commander or anything of the sort. The treaty says that if there's any differences between the Moors and the citizens, the consul shall decide. We decide. That makes us the commander, not them.
Okay, well, Article 4 says the commander, and that's just the head because we're part and parcel of a foreign entity. So we have a head.
Read Article 4. Read Article 4. Read it. Of the treaty.
A signal or pass shall be given to all vessels belonging to both parties by which they are to be known when they meet at sea. That's your flag. And if the commander or the ship of war and either parties shall have other ships under convoy, the declaration of the commander shall above and sufficiently to exempt any of them from examination.
Okay.
Article 4 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Did you know that the treaty has nothing to do with a corporation?
Well, they have a contract with us.
No. They don't have a contract with us. No, they're the subjects, period. And what they were to do, and this was not a contract, this was our command. That's why they don't break it. That's why they don't breach it. That's why I came out of there unscathed. They're subjects. They've been walking around as if they're a nation, but they're not.
Oh, we know that.
And
yeah,
now, if they're not a nation, they're not party to a treaty. Only nations treat.
Yes, but this is while you're
okay.
Right. I understand.
Let me finish. Let me finish because I want to make this clear to the Moors so that there's no confusion. Because if we don't clear this stuff up, Moors are going to continue to be violated, thinking that they know what they're talking about. And we want to be sure because our protection is of the utmost where competence is concerned. Okay, and I'm not calling you incompetent. I just said you are competent, and that's my second time saying that. But I want to be sure that we clarify these issues because it's important. We've been making a few errors, and Moors have been paying for those errors. And we don't need to keep paying for that when we can fix it. Now, the United States Corporation Company is not mentioned in the treaty, not once. Not once. That's because they're not a nation and they have nothing to do with it. When the treaty talks about commanders, the treaty is to be put in all lowercase letters in red, and we're talking about nations, indigenous nations of the earth. That's what the treaty is for. It's for us to acknowledge our brothers and sisters over on the other land and say, hey, we have earth-wide treaty with all of you, and we're going to honor that you have a commander and we have a commander in this whole exchange. That's what that's for. It has nothing to do with foreign hybrids who are subjects. Nothing to do with them. So we don't ask for a commander, we're it. We've always commanded them. And never will there ever be a time that we don't command them. Now, that's why when I went in and I did court actions, because see, I didn't ask them for anyone. I didn't. The ancestors just said, use the tools that you have. Well, I don't have any tools that say, may I see your commander? I don't have that. I don't have that. All I had was court actions because that's all we've been doing. So I raised those corpses from the dead. And when you raise them from the dead, they're not in commander status. They're in subject status. And they did what subjects do. And I'm bragging on the ancestors. I'm not even talking about me because they're the ones who told me what to do. Use the tools you have, and the same tools I have, all the Moors have. So it doesn't make me special. All of us have that. And that's what we're to use. I gave them commands in the court actions, not asking for anyone. And I made it a point that when they came around Because, see, when we ask them for something, we've given them jurisdiction. That's why in our court actions, we ask them, do you understand? Do you understand? Yes, you understand whether you say it or not because you already have a name plastered on your chest. Yes, you understand. And that's why they left. That's why they kept leaving. Whole goon squads could not open the cell door. Funny, they had the key. They thought they had the key to the cell door, but it was a courtroom cell. I had the key. They couldn't come in. We have to keep that in mind, that we don't ask them for anything. They don't have a commander but us. There are no gods but the Moors. None. None. And the sooner we make that proper identification, the more effective our court actions will be. Proper identification of, and in our sovereign court, the only reason that, and it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons that it's called a consular court is because there's diversity of status. And if we call them a commander, there's no diversity of status because we're the commander too.
Taj removed you as a judge.
You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? So I just want to be sure, because that really needs to be clarified, because, you know, some have been saying for years, ask for the commander, and we used that, and it worked for some for a while, but now we know how to do it a better way. And that's what a grand rising is what's the best way to do it so that it's most effective? Well, we've been speaking to the dead. That's why we asked for a commander, because we were, you know, and a lot of times they broke windows out anyway.
Well, I mean, and you're so right. And there will always be a challenge, just knowing that you're competent. And another thing, just never signing anything. There's no contract, 72 hours, they got to get you out of there because you haven't contracted. So I yield the floor. And honest.
Islam, and actually the 72-hour piece, that's for the nations too. See, we're going to have other nations on our land. We already have them. They're already here. They started coming when you started. So they've been here the whole time, but that whole caravan piece, that was other nations coming here. That's for them. Right now, it's testing for the Moors. That's what's happening right now. It's testing for us. Who fit to govern this vast estate fearlessly? All of us. All of us. There's not one of us who's not fit to govern. We're ready. As long as we have one another, we're ready. We've already started. And see, this is the beauty of that too, is I had already leaned those places previously, before ever going in there. I leaned them. I did court actions on them. So it was easy to put them in subject status and have them obey because they had already been pulled out of corporate status faultfully. And that's the value of the liens, of doing the liens and the court action first. Those are proactive moves that we make as the heirs. That's proactive governing, because did you know that every move the fates make, there is an underlying quote-unquote court action that's telling them that they have, and let me tell you what their courts are. Their fake courts are. All their fake courts do is look for a contract. And when they find one, they can make up charges on their court and say, well, they agreed to be a court here, so let's pin a few things on them. That's how they operate. And that's why it's so important to terminate all presumed corporate contracts. Because we never, Grand Sheik has always said we never had a contract with them. Because we never did. We gave them some commands. Never had a contract with them. Because, see, you cannot contract with someone who's not your equal. Did you know that? You can't. Contracts are for when two equals come to the table and they bring something to the table. And then the contract is to make it an exchange. That's what the contract is for. We can't do that with a corporation. Corporations have never been equal. I see in the chat about unlocking the meeting. I'm going to unlock it here. Let me go ahead and do that. And I apologize to the it's unlocked. We never had a contract with them, ever had a contract. So let me make sure that what okay, good. There's an end. We always want to keep that in mind. We never had a contract with them. Now, I'll tell you this. The only presumed contract we had is the fake birth certificate and the fake socials and all of that. And that's why we do a termination of corporate contract, because we thought we had a contract with them. We thought we were U.S. corporation company citizens. That's what we thought, but we weren't, never. Our bloodline never changed. It never changed. So that's why we terminate the corporate contract. That's why we do it. And that's the must we have to keep doing. You know, nobility, I appreciate your contribution to the meeting. I appreciate that. I just feel that it's important now to go ahead and clean up what we do all the way. And I'm not saying that what you contribute is not clean. I'm saying that we can that this is the grand rising, and we can get better and better and better at everything that we do. And we want to do that so that we don't have to be hurt anymore. You know, more, you know, we don't need to be hurt anymore. We need to put that, you know, it needs to be clean and clear on what we do, who we are, and how to do it. We need to know they have no authority, none, and I mean N-U-N, none. None, meaning it's a habit. They don't have any authority. We're all of that. We're all of that. So are there any other questions or comments about any of that? And, you know, if you all hear me say something, that you feel needs clarification, please say it. Because, you know, we're here to sharpen one another. And I'm far from unteachable. Is when I hear certain things, anything that has to do with giving some authority to the corporation, there's something in me that says, clear that up. There's something in me that won't let that go another day, you know, because too many of us have been hurt thinking that you know, not knowing that we're breathing life into them when we say you're the commander. That's like raising a corpse from the dead and telling the zombie to walk around and be a commander. We can't keep doing that. We got to stop doing that so nobody gets hurt. Our safety is most important, and our safety is in our mouth. You know? Are there any other questions or comments, etc.?
So how long are you going to be in next time?
Are you going back to jail on March 3rd, Pauline?
Any other lawful, legitimate not legitimate, but lawful questions from the heirs. If you're not an heir, do not speak. All rise and stand in this meeting.
Are you going to go back
Islam.
to that?
All rise and stand, I said. That means be quiet. Are there any other questions?
Girl, you crazy. You so crazy.
They're really upset, you all, and I apologize that they are that upset about what happened. It's a wrap, though. They know it.
Islam.
So, Islam, Justice. Islam.
I was inquiring. Is all flags half staff?
I don't know, but I know they are here. The fake banner of amity and commerce.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. They are. They'll be coming off those poles shortly. They will be.
I see.
You see? See that? And, you know, it's just a matter of time, you know, Billy. That's a great observation. I'm glad you saw that. I saw it too, you know.
Well,
did you know that last week, or actually this week, let me see, when was that? Let me just, on my screen, flip to the video. There was a video that came out last week on PBS NewsHour. They were filming something called PBS was filming, I guess, the Senate, the ones doing business at Senate. Let me make sure I put it that way. And it says, Senate delivers Washington's farewell address.
Mm.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Islam. I got one more thing. I'm Lean, the CEO of a credit union locally. In the process, he emailed me the people that's funding it privately. You know what I'm saying? They 5013C. He gave me the head that is over 9 counties in Alabama. And I done leaned them and everything. All I got to do is the court action and then bank me. But he emailed me that and gave me all that information, and I was blown out the water.
Well, let me tell you why he gave you the information.
Yeah, because I instructed him. A week later, he gave me the email after I instructed the link.
Okay, let me say a couple of things about that. Because you know that's information they would not have provided before. But they see the end here. And when I say here in terms of time-wise, they see that their end is now. And so they're going to point you in a direction, hoping that you will contract with them. See, they want to, the only reason they're talking back is because they saw something corporate in the documents, that whatever it is that you sent them, they saw something corporate in there. And so the only time they talk back is when they see something corporate. He gave that information, and if you, whoever it is that he sent you to contract, I know you've leaned them and done, have you done a court action? Did you say you did a court action on all of them?
No, I processed the lien, but he didn't really contact. It was like just a weird email. It wasn't. It just I clicked into it, and it was a private organization, and they private funding for 9 counties, which give out the grants and all that stuff to the colleges and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't for me.
With them.
Oh, no, they did. All I did was send them all notices. It's over. It's right. Hey, I found it.
I love it. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. See, they always dangle that old funky fiat out there in front of you, of us. Because they want a contract. They just want one last sandwich. Just one. They just want to throw one more of us into a jail cell and make it so that it's hard for us to get out of there because we signed a contract with them. That's what they want to do. We're smarter than that. You're clearly you're competently smarter than that because you knew to notify their behinds. You know? No one can say that the Moors are not ready. No one can say that. We're absolutely ready. High honors to you, Justice. High honors for, for your demonstration. Thank you for sharing that with us because that's all they need is notification that, first of all, they don't have anything. See, without our autograph, they can't go into anything. They can't get anything. They can't eat a sandwich. They can't do any of that. They can't. So all they're going to do is from a closet at home, because see, like I said, what they were calling a court, it was a closet at home. Somebody was in with a bunch of junk behind them, and they were sitting at a desk typing, talking about court. The sandwiches are gone. The Moors didn't. We stopped signing and autographing because we knew in our awakening that that's what they needed to eat with, and now they can't eat with it no more because we don't give it to them. We don't. Moors, we've done more. Listen, we got so many sandwiches, they're piled up like the Tower of Babel. I mean, they don't have a grant to give anybody. They don't have any of that. And I'll tell you this even about that. Just to prove that, go out on Google and look at how many news stories are out there about them saying that they gave PPP loans and they gave small business loans during the pandemic, and they're finding that they gave people too much, so they need to go back and recoup and recollect. Well, they just debted everybody even worse who signed for that mess. That's all they did. That's all that was for. That's all they put that out there for was, let's get as many sovereign signatures as we can, and if we can get some sovereign signatures, we can eat a few more sandwiches just a little bit longer. And fortunately, 99.9% of what they got back was from their own. So we have absolutely nothing to worry about at all. All we have to do is keep doing what we're doing, and don't, testing can be a little scary. It can be a little scary, but we can get through it. We can get through it. All we have to do is stand. And those who stand always come out awesome. Always. We might be a little tired when we come out of the testing, but that's just a few days rest. And then we're right back doing what we do in honor of our foremothers and forefathers. Testing is, everyone has to be tested. Everyone does, in one way or another. I will say this: the sooner we clear ego energy and clear energy that is angry and that wants to get back at them for what they're doing, the sooner we clear that energy, the less time our test will take, and the less harsh our test will be. Because, oh, that's right, I wanted to put in the chat, I wanted to put in the chat the link to,
Phil has put together a critical business class for his boss, George. He was pretty new.
I want to put in the chat, let's see, the link to the video, and I really had no intention of sharing all of this, but it's okay. Let's see. Check my sharing really quickly. Okay. I want to put in the chat a link to the video of my testament of what happened while I was there in the in the POW camp, because it's really worth listening to in terms of where we are, because there are other Moors, I'm sure, who have done the same thing. And I want to be sure that we all know exactly what happened, just so that we are aware, because it's important. Justice Apollo, you had a question you put in the chat a little earlier.
Islam, I said I was asking where yesterday we were talking about the administrative process, and you brought up the conference at Al Jazeera and also a sheriff manual. There was a sheriff manual that you mentioned. I was just trying to see if we can get like a citation for that. Islam.
I looked for the sheriff manual online, and it didn't come up immediately. There were some books that came up. One of them was called Paper Sheriff, and that's going to give us some information, but it's like $4.99 sovereign credits, rather, $4.99 sovereign credits, $4.99 in sovereign credits. But I'm not recommending it because I've not seen it. But if anyone else, there are also regular sheriff manuals out there. I prefer the older ones, because the older ones are going to be more truthful about what they really can and cannot do. I'm glad you brought that up about the sheriff manual, because did you know that in Daniel, in the bibliotext, in Daniel, the 3rd chapter, the 2nd and 3rd verse, the sheriff is mentioned?
No, I'm going to have to go actually look at that. And it's no big deal, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, I don't know if other Moors come across this, but it's like, sometimes when I go to study things that are like, you know what I'm saying, I read them and they look like they might be important, and then I'm like, okay, let me come back to this and, get the citation together so I can have it in my notes and share it to other Moors. It's like, when I go back and look, it don't be in the same place, or, you know what I'm saying, it moved or be gone, and I don't know if anybody else experiences that, but it's like, that's why I'm just like thankful for, you know what I'm saying, you, because like we said yesterday, you're not going to read in a book where it's going to flat out tell you that the jail cell is a courtroom. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't even hold it that much no more. It is what it is. We'll get all the info we need. Islam.
Yes, Islam. Those are things that the ancestors were pointing out, and come to find out that the ones doing business as Masons, in all capital letters, knew that. They knew. And that's why it's important when we're being tested not to be angry about the test, but to calm down and then start looking around, because we're never tested for nothing. We're tested so the ancestors can show us something. They always want to show us something. They always, it never fails. I'm going to put in the chat the two verses from Daniel. Hopefully it will open. I'll put verse 2 here first. Where it mentions the sheriff. There's verse 2 in the chat. Daniel, and let me put that in there too. Daniel, the 3rd chapter, verses 2 and 3. The verse 2 says, Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the consulars, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And then verse 3 says, Then the princes, the governors, and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the consulars, the sheriffs, and all of the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And that's why sheriffs know that they are, see, in the corporate, they're saying we have authority that's separate from the policy enforcers. That's what they're saying. But they don't if they're incorporated. And they don't if they're not in subject status. So it's our, and this is key to remember, heirs, it is our responsibility to raise them from the dead and then give them command. It's our responsibility. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, universal, living Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court action. And then we set about to identify ourselves and all other parties.
Islam.
See. So then, and see, when I really want us to take a look also at another document, and I'll put the link to that document in the chat, because this is a document that I mentioned in the video where I was giving my testament about what happened. But there's two versions of the document. So I'll put the version of the document, the link to it, in the chat. This is the link to the Morocco General Act of Algeciras. In the Morocco General Act of Algeciras, which happened, actually, it started in 1904 and was published and made an act in 1906. We're going to decapitalize it, put it in red, and make it a law in 2000 at this time, in a very short while, over the next couple of weeks. And of course, we're going to take out all signs of colonization, et cetera, et cetera. But down if you click on that link that's in the chat and go to page 470 of that document, which is really actually page 6 of the document. Is it page 6? It's page 7 of the document. Page 470. Here's what the document reads on that page that's so important to us. And this, again, is 1904, 1906. And then it's a multilateral agreement from 1776 to that was done in 1776 from from then to 1917. But it didn't end in 1917. It was just ratified then. But again, when we say ratified, if a corporation is ratifying it, it's not really a thing. But there's a couple of things in here that I want to read, just quick passages. One of the passages says, a declaration signed by the Moorish Minister of War describing the number and nature of such articles ordered abroad must be presented to the legation of the country of their origin, whose visa shall be affixed thereto. It says, the passage through the customs of the cases and packages containing the arms and munitions delivered at the order of the Moorish government shall be affected upon the presentation, not the representation, but the presentation. And then it lists those presentations. So we have always been the government. We've never not been the government. Everyone knew that but us. That's why they're not commanders. We are the commanders. And if you read that Moroccan act at Algeciras, and then you put it in red in all lowercase letters, and take out the decolonization, any corporate terms, etc., it will make complete sense that we were always the police, we were always the law, we were always the government, and that act specifies that only Moors can be the heads of the law enforcement on this land. Study the document, because we're going to publish it and put it on the public record by the people saying that this is the law. We're the government, we're the police, we're all of that. Because it needs to be put forth before we continue with being an organized militia, like the Constitution says. And we're not under the Constitution. The Constitution is under us. But we're in alignment with it as well. We stay in alignment with it. Especially Articles 3 and 6. All laws made by the state to the contrary of this Constitution and its treaties is notwithstanding. So we got this still. We still got it. And that's why I was saying about the domiciles Moors. You know, I know some Moors who, you know, we know Moors need domiciles. We know that. And we're going to have them. The ancestors want to make sure that when we get them, we can keep them. That means that we are the government services, because really all government is service unto the people, which is us too. We serve ourselves on our land. If you are at your domicile, you don't need somebody, you know, digging in the food and slopping it on a plate and handing it to you. You don't need, you don't need that. You can serve yourself, because you know exactly what you want off of your own dominion. And no one will hand that to you better than you can go get it for yourself. Because holy hands need to be touching what is ours anyway, and we are the only ones with anointed, clean hands. So read that act. It's the Morocco Act at Algeciras. General Act at Algeciras, because there's two of them out there. There's the General Convention at Algeciras, which mentions the Sultan and the emperors, and this one does too. But we're going to put this one out on the public record as the law, because they need to know that we have every right, not just a right, because they're subjects, so it doesn't even matter what they think. Not like that. We're supposed to. And that's why we had to know the system that we have looked at over the last 2 weeks. Because that's really what I went in there to do too, is look at the system, watching the way they're holding people, how they keep people safe while I didn't need to see how they beat up on people. We already know what that looks like. We didn't need to see that. So the ancestors didn't let them do it. But we needed to see all the other stuff, how they hold people, how they safely take people who are combative from one place to another. And I wasn't combative, but I got to see them handle that kind of thing. And then we have Moors who have expertise in the area because they've done that type of work. And so that's a study that we know now. And we will only really know it as we do it. We have to do it peacefully. You know, the land is up to us now to keep our land peaceful. And we have to give ourselves room to do that. Room to go through the processes, just like we've been going through every other process. We've been giving ourselves room to do it. It hasn't, you know, when we were first putting out documents, the documents had some black ink and some capital letters, but because we were all so sincere, all of us, the ancestors honored them and then taught us the right way to do it, a better way to do it, let me put it that way. Because when we're sincere, there's no wrong way to do something when you're sincere. Are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature?
You know what?
Islam.
Yeah, I had some curiosities too about, I remember like a kind of a reoccurring concept that we go over from time to time is how the post office, there's like a financial and a banking relationship to the post office, right? Does anybody know, you know, where we can study that or where we can get some more information about postal banking?
Yes, the Universal Postal Union has a manual on their website that you can pull. Now, again, Moors, seek ye first the empire, and all of that will be added unto you. We have to know that we have to be able to secure everything that comes to us. We have to be able to secure it. If we're able to secure it, the ancestors have no problem with giving it to us. But we have to be able to secure everything. If we have corporate contracts, we can't secure finance. We can't secure sovereign credit. If we have, you know, so we have to terminate all corporate contracts and all of that. You know, we have to make sure that all of those things are done so that we prove that we are competent to govern. Okay. Yes, there is the UPU manual. There's also the post office, and it's on the UPU website, also has this other manual. Let me see. I'm trying to think. Right. So there are some codes and statutes that Moors used to use on their mailings that talked about do not violate, you know, this code 1803, 1804, and 1805, USC. It's USC something 1803, 1804, and 1806. You may want to look at those two, just as a pilot, for, you know, matters that have to do with finance. Knowing that there's not a single thing that we do that is not sovereign finance related. All court actions are sovereign financial exchanges, all of them. Every word we speak is a financial exchange. because every word we speak is a court action. So that's a good place to start for that manual. And again, Justice Apollo, I noticed that you, a lot of your questions, which are awesome, is looking for, study resources. Look, whatever topic it is that you're studying, look for the manual. Whatever the manual is, whatever topic it is, they all have a manual that has been published that we can look at and decapitalize and use. Also, the United Nations Corporation has some manuals and some general resolutions concerning sovereign resources. That they call them sovereign resources, things like that. So look those up too. You may want to look that up. One of the general resolutions, and I can't remember exactly which one, I posted it on my Facebook page some years back, talked about how sovereign nations, no matter what their level of comprehension is, always have complete dominion over the resources of the land. So even in our fleet, we had complete control over the oil, the gold, the silver, and all of that on the land. Even in our fleet. That's by, it's by our sovereign status first and foremost. But about 30,000 down the list is the UN, the General Resolution, I think it was 215 or 16 or something like that, that says, all sovereign nations have complete authority over their land resources at all times. Speaking of financial matters. So there's a lot that we're learning about our sovereign status, and the more we learn, the more we know that we are the gods of the earth. And that's even mentioned in the Bible. Did you know that there is a scripture that mentions that God sits among the gods? But they'll never show that to you. I believe it's in Psalms. God sits among the gods and councils. Oh, God sits among the council of the gods. See, so sovereign court action is what the heirs do. Period. That's what the gods do. They sit and govern the estate by court action. That's why the two verses that I put in there, Daniel, the 3rd chapter, 2 and 3, it mentions, and it does not say the lawyers, it doesn't say the corporate, it doesn't say the attorney, it says the consulars. And that is actually a hypothecation of the consuls. But we know who did that. And then if you want to just add a little bit of validation to the red ink that we use, they took a lot of them out of circulation, but most of the bibliophilia text always had the words of quote-unquote Jesus in red. It's called a red letter Bible. My parents had it. And then the corporate knew it was getting close to time for the heirs to wake up. So they took a lot of that out of circulation. But all you have to do is go online and order. And you will see every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Savior, quote unquote, was in red ink. And the only reason that they didn't use all lowercase letters is because that's what we're supposed to do. Thank you, Justice C. Petite L. Oof, that's perfect in the chat. He put the link to the UPU manual in the chat. Justice Apollo, can you see in the chat what he did? Make sure to grab that link there because that's important. We're going to need to look at that too because we govern the post office as well. Are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature? Islam. We will adjourn until Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And at that time, we will get back into some of the studies of the things that we left off before we went on our beautiful trip of enlightenment into the jail. It was just amazing. I would not trade that experience for anything at all. It did so much for us, and we have so many answers. And again, I am going to publish all of the documents that came from that so that our law enforcement, which is all of us, can look at the documents and know what to print out for the citizens as we move toward actual demonstration of being the police and the government on the land. With that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, heirs, Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising to the Moors.
Peace and grand rising to the Moors.
Peace, love, grand rising, Moors.
Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love, grand rising.
Islam.
Everybody.
Grand rising, grand rising, grand rising to the heirs, Islam. Islam. Long live the empire. Islam.